All right, welcome back everybody to Altcoin Daily. My name is Aaron. Let's talk about the price of Bitcoin. I'm going to play you clips from two different types of experts. I'm going to show you the difference between TA experts versus on-chain experts because there's a big difference. Here's the thing. Pure TA experts, their opinion is based solely on the price and the price history of Bitcoin. And that's as opposed to on-chain experts who have a more fundamental point of view because they analyze how Bitcoin changes hands on chain. So I'm going to show you how they differ. So from a pure technical analysis point of view, from a pure TA guy, in the past day or two, you've probably heard things like this.
So here's the thing, is that if Bitcoin does break below this current structure, like let's call it 9,500, I'll put on my my drawing tools right here. Yeah, the 200 simple is going to be a target. It's obviously going to be coming in at that 8,500 level, kind of at current trajectory, which would kind of line up with that same gap that we saw in price action from CMEs in like, what was it, middle of June perhaps. But actually, I don't believe if we were to actually break down, which I'm not saying that we are, but if we were to break down, I would actually be looking at this to go a little bit lower than that, actually significantly lower than that, all the way down into the upper 6,000s is technically where this measure move would suggest. I do agree with you that the longer that Bitcoin goes sideways here, the more that these moving averages have to catch up. But that's not always a good thing. We're looking at everything kind of condensed on each other right now, which tells us that we're still consolidating. But we're not really given a direction based off that until we break one of the major levels. To me, if we were to break below this 9,500-ish level right here, also the 382 Fibonacci retracement on this formation, we're not just going to be breaking down to go down to the 200 simple or 200 exponential. We're going to be going down much, much further. This is a complete change in behavior as far as I'm concerned in the higher time frames. Indicating a complete, new phase going on. I mean, this has been so far a relatively constructive consolidation within this region, which would, give the odds a little bit more in the favor of the bulls right now. But the second that we break formation is the second that I turn into an actual bear, and this starts to look like a bull trap, and this is going to set us up. I mean, yes, for a move down here most likely, and then I would genuinely think actually probably lower after that as well.
Interesting. So that's Eric Crown of Crown's Crypto Cave. He's a very accomplished trader in his own right. He has a great YouTube channel. I recommend you follow him. And that was him giving his bearish scenario. He says if Bitcoin breaks the descending triangle, the 200-day moving average, which has been historically significant, it would mean very little, and we could fall back down to as low as $6,000 or lower. I mean, he said much more than that. We can't play the whole thing, but he is pure TA. I don't think he ever thinks about Bitcoin's fundamentals. I don't think he ever looks at Bitcoin's on-chain data. I don't even think he has a hodl position. And the beauty of Bitcoin is that we have so much more than just a price history. I mean, since Bitcoin is a ledger, we can see when, where, how much Bitcoin is being traded, changing hands, its whole history at any given time. And never before in history have we been able to have so much data on any one particular asset. Usually it's just the price. So I'm going to give you a more complete picture now. I'm going to play you clips from Tone Vase's recent podcast. He had on some on-chain experts. I like Willy, I like Murad Mahmudov, and here is David Puell. All three of these men together, they run a hedge fund called Adaptive Capital. So they're experts on not just pure TA, but also on on-chain analysis and fundamental analysis. And if you take into account the on-chain and fundamentals, a Bitcoin price less than 7,000 is just not likely. And more than that, going into the future, the mid to long-term future, Bitcoin is far more bullish than bearish if you look at the fundamentals and on-chain data. So let's check this out. We're going to go through a series of clips. The first question is, where are we in this market? Was this 2019 rally, was this just a fake out? Did we top out at $14,000? Are we about to enter a bear market?
Let's go through some of these charts. We're nowhere near a top. People who are scared we're going to bear market. I'm not so. I'm pretty certain that's not going to happen. We're only halfway through this bull run, and so my conclusion is that Bitcoin has kind of three chapters to its bull market. You have the opening act, which is here. You have the middle act, the stage 2 act, where we move upwards, and then the last bit is where everything goes haywire and we go into a mania phase. And a lot of people are seeing that, like comparing, are we here or are we here? Well, in this cycle, these two bumps are together. We are completing these two bumps.
Yeah, I just don't see much of a difference there. So
but
those two bumps took a while. Those two bumps took a good year to achieve.
Yeah.
So we could have a consolidation into the halving here.
Yep,
so what I compare to, if you look on the on-chain domain, is that everything looks similar to this earlier phase, which brings the
So we're nowhere close to the top. In the 3-act structure of a bull market, as he just described, we're still in Act 1. We're just about to head into Act 2. And as he was saying, everything looks more similar to the 2012-2013 bull market rather than the 2016-2017 bull market. So let's let him continue, because, well, wasn't 2012-2013, wasn't everything too illiquid back then? I mean 2012-2013, that was a long time ago. Can you really compare that to today?
You think, wow, that was a long time ago, it's very illiquid. Well, actually, the whole market is very liquid right now compared to how many coins are in supply, and it's only a few big players. Like back in these days, you had a few whales pushing the whole market around. Now you've got a few quant funds and a few big institutions pushing the market around. So it is trading very, very much like a shitcoin or an early stage coin. You see it in the volatility. You see it in the price action. And where we are, I surmise, is around here in this cycle. We need to flatten out a bit. Maybe we'll see a dip, but that'll set us for the next strong part of the bull market.
We need to flatten out, maybe a dip, and that's going to set us up for the next strong part of the bull market. That's what he said, and that's pretty interesting. He said back in 2012-2013, a few whales were playing with the illiquid Bitcoin market, as opposed to today, where now it's a few quant funds or a few big institutions that are playing with the illiquid Bitcoin market. So the question is, was the 2019 Bitcoin price rally, where Bitcoin rallied from 3K to 14K, was the 2019 price rally caused by institutions? I've heard a lot of people say it was money coming out of altcoins. So which is it? Is it institutions or altcoins?
Yeah, and speaking of that, how much do you think the altcoin exodus had to do with this run-up from 6,000 to 14?
So was that what did you say, exodus?
The exodus out of shitcoins. Like Bitcoin dominance has went from 50 to 70 over that time period. We've kind of been stuck at 70. But Bitcoin's dominance going from 50 to 70 over the last 3 to 4 months. How much did that have to do with the big meteoric rise in the price of Bitcoin from that $6,000 area up to 14? I think that was most of it.
When we saw that meteoric rise, that had screaming all over the fingerprint, a quant fund or a series of quant funds utilizing $500 million in a US dollar or Bitcoin trade account on BitMEX. So I don't see that as altcoins coming in.
I see more the influence of liquidity games on BitMEX as the rise.
It was BitMEX led, and it wasn't altcoins.
So you should really watch the whole episode in full. I'm going to leave a link in the description, but let's just cut to the good parts, okay? So for the first hour and a half, the part I cut out, they were reasoning, they were justifying their thoughts as to why Bitcoin looks very bullish in the medium to long term. Well, now let's cut to the end where they go over the probabilities. So Tone is going to ask them 3 questions. He's going to ask them the probability that Bitcoin falls to $7,000 or $8,000, and they're going to say that probability is fairly low. He's going to ask them the probability that Bitcoin closes the year above $10,000. They're going to say that the probability is fairly high. And then the third question is the probability that Bitcoin reaches or surpasses its all-time highs before the halving next year. And once again, that is pretty high. Watch the whole thing. what I want you to notice, I want you to see, look how bullish Willy Woo and Murad Mahmudov are with each question. These are guys I've referenced plenty of times before. I respect their work. And check this out.
What is each of yours probability out of 100 that we will fall to the low 7,000s or lower before the halving?
5%.
Can I move the target to 7,000?
No.
Well,
No, 'cause
7,000.
it has to be the same response
survey.
for everybody.
No, but it's the vicinity of 7,000.
Low, below
Well,
7.5, low.
Like the low, like lower than 7,500.
That's
Um,
that whole structure there, right?
Yeah.
I'll say 10%.
10% for Murad.
Uh,
What if I move that up to the low 8,000s?
Then my percentage would correspondingly increase.
It would be,
Um,
that's
too
black
much.
and white difference.
35%.
35. So 35% we go to the low 8,000s. 10% we go to the low 7,000s.
15% low 7,000s. 35, yeah, 35 to
35 for low 8,000s.
Yep.
Willie?
Low 7,000s. If we're talking about like a wick, a wick.
A wick's
doesn't-
fine.
Does not count. Right?
No, it can't.
So if
It
the
can be.
wick's-
It can be
wick's
on a
down-
wick or on a close. It doesn't matter.
That's gambling, right? But I'd say in terms
A
of
tradable wick, not like a Kraken wick.
like I mean a wick within like the 4-hour chart. I would say exclude. I would say 5%.
A tradable, like
5%. 5%.
5%.
If it breaks below 7,500, because the reason behind that is it'll break all our models. It's below the 200-day moving average, and on-chain is very bullish. But if you were to say low 8,000s, which is the support of 200-day moving average, much more like Murad, I'd give it a 35% as well, maybe even higher.
My next question. The probability that we close the year above 10,000.
above 10,000.
We close the year above 10,000.
I would say 80%.
Above 10K. We may be ranging for the whole year, like for all I know. 60%.
60%.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
65.
65.
Yeah, 70.
He said 80.
80. Yeah, I'm
65.
I'm very much Murad, right? I'd say even higher. I'd like.
How can you think we're going to be below 10K by the end
It's
of
like,
the year? That's
I'd say 90%.
Yeah.
I'd say 90, 80,
Okay.
90.
Well, I'm
something.
thinking
85, I would say 85.
Okay. Final question. What is the probability of a new all-time high before or around the halving?
60%.
60.
All right, 260s.
I think higher. I think 75.
75 for Willie. Willie's the big.
Well, the thing is,
Willie's the biggest
we've
bull
got
here.
So much time to burn. We were like 5-6 months away.
Yeah. So I think the latest halving numbers is around May 8th. I think it's speeding up. I think it's like May 7th now with all the hash rate coming online and
Yeah.
Bcash dying.
There's a few key indicators. One is the alts are pumping, litecoins bullish, on-chain's bullish. I don't think we can contain a sideways movement for another 6 months,
Yeah.
7 months. That's too much time to burn. This thing wants to move.
So you're gonna go 90?
Well, the other scenario is
I'd go in the 80s.
consolidation
80s.
here, then move up to 17K, consolidation there, and then rip massively after.
Yeah.